The Molecular and Clinical Genetic Service in the National Healthcare System in the UK, which we call it NHS, has a complex structure. A patient is first seen by the GP, which is a family doctor, who will assess the patient, and if a genetic condition is suspected, then the GP will refer the patient to the specialists, which can be a cardiology, can be neurology, or to the closest clinical genetics unit. Usually, complex cases will be referred to multiple departments in the NHS. The consultant or a member of his team will assess the patient. If a genetic condition is suspected, then they will take a biological sample and send it to the laboratory in order to order the most appropriate test. Otherwise, they will discuss it further with other healthcare professionals, including clinical scientists. Once the patient sample arrives in the lab, which it can be a buccal swab, a blood sample, saliva, an amniotic fluid sample, or any other type of sample, then the DNA or RNA is extracted, and sometimes a cell culture is stored, and this can be used for further investigations or sometimes just for a backup for DNA extraction. Then all the documents are checked by the appropriate clinical scientist, and which will activate the appropriate testing. The technical team will set up the sample and run it on the next generation sequencing technologies, or they will perform MLPA or do the traditional Sanger sequencing. And once all the data is obtained, they will first read it, or it will go to the bioinformatics team to convert it into readable files, or to the most appropriate clinical scientist to take it over and to analyze and interpret the data. The clinical scientists will analyze and interpret the data using different in-house softwares and sometimes external databases, but also literature and other resources. And based on the evidence they gather and on their clinical and molecular expertise, then they will take a decision and report the findings to the clinical team, and usually is the referring clinician. An appointment for results is set by the clinician with the patient during the visit when the biological sample is taken. And is also taken into consideration the turnaround times for that specific test. Once the referring clinician receives the results, then he or she will call the patient, write a letter, or wait until the next appointment for the discussion. Complex cases are given to the patient in the presence of a genetic counselor or a consultant clinical geneticist, and in some cases a nurse or other healthcare professionals. When a pathogenic variant is identified in the proband, genetic counseling, predictive carrier, and family studies are offered to that specific family. The healthcare professionals involved in the case will direct family members to the appropriate department, and most importantly to the clinical genetics unit if they are not already involved with the case.